Hi, this is my wine for tonight. I am in my car. This is the second Thursday that this has happened where my one gym night got switched to Thursday. So I ran out of the gym and jumped in my car and started this Facebook Live. Hopefully my stand doesn't fall off my steering wheel. All the concerns when you're Facebook living from a parking lot. Okay, so that when it comes to heart health, salt is, I think, the one that we all kind of think of like automatically. And we're gonna get really into that because I started thinking about this one and I was like, ooh, I'm excited for salt. Really excited for salt because there's a lot in my mind that needs to be cleared up. So I am here every Thursday at 5:30 on the Facebook page at Basically at Meals, bringing you Wine About It, which is a nutrition tip or some sort of simple step that you can take to make your life healthier, better, easier. Everything I teach breaks it down really simplistically. You're gonna walk away with clear, easy steps that are gonna make your life better. I don't do anything complicated, and I really like to kind of clear up a lot of the nutrition misinformation that's out there. So my name's Hayley. I have many years of nutrition education experience. I have a degree in Nutrition and Exercise Physiology from Mizzou, and now I own my own company called Basically at Meals. We do healthy, delicious, and delivered meals right here in St. Louis. So it really is my passion to help people make their lives better through food and through education. So salt became the culprit for heart disease, or one of the culprits for heart disease, because of its relationship to high blood pressure. And high blood pressure is when our arteries become restricted. That's what carries our blood. When our arteries become restricted, or not necessarily restricted, when our blood becomes thick and our heart has to pump a lot harder in order to get our blood to where it needs to go. So if you think about, one guy is lifting a weight at the rate of 60 times per minute, and another guy is lifting the same weight at a rate of 10 times per minute. Who is going to wear out quicker? And that is the whole reason why high blood pressure is so such a huge risk factor for heart disease, because it wears your heart out, essentially. And our hearts are going to kind of eventually wear out anyways, just because they work so long and so hard. But as much as we can prevent that or take care of our heart, make our heart's life easier, we're going to prevent heart disease and really care for our health a little bit more. So if we're adding stress to our heart, we're just increasing our risk for heart disease down the road. So I kind of mucked that up, but high blood pressure is when it's harder for our heart to get the blood to where it needs to go. Sometimes that's because our arteries are restricted, and sometimes it's because our blood is thicker. And a couple things can make our blood thick. Salt is one of them. We can also have the hardening of our arteries, which is called atherosclerosis, and that is caused by fat building up in the lining of our arteries. And I'll really get into that. So there are a bunch of risk factors for high blood pressure. Salt is not the only risk factor for high blood pressure, although you would think it is, because that's the one that we really focus on. Dehydration is actually one of them. So if our blood isn't as thinned out by water because we're not properly hydrated, our blood's going to be thicker. It's going to be harder for our heart to get that blood to where it needs to go. Smoking and alcohol use certainly raise our blood pressure. If you are a smoker, highly suggest that you find some sort of alcohol cessation program, because that is a huge risk factor. It's just not good for you for so many other reasons. Lack of exercise, that's a big one. And this doesn't have to be all out, really hard exercise. You don't have to be a triathlete or a marathon runner. This is more about moving a little bit. Our heart is a muscle, and if we can strengthen that muscle, that's going to be great for our heart. And then just getting our blood pumping, getting our blood flowing really helps with our arterial health and with reducing our blood pressure. Being overweight. And this one is as simple as, think about if you're wearing a 50-pound backpack or a 100-pound backpack? How hard is your heart gonna have to work as you move around with that backpack on? Just imagine. I can imagine like that weight on my shoulders. Like I'm like already panting. And it's not even moving around. It's standing. Just standing there, you're gonna get so tired and your heart's gonna have to work harder. Just standing up from a chair, that the weight of that backpack is really gonna put pressure on your heart. And that's all that is. Overweight, obesity has just really not only puts pressure, but we have to work so much harder to move around. Our muscles have to work much harder. Our heart has to work much harder. Fat buildup in our arteries, which I kind of mentioned, and that's called atherosclerosis. And the past 2 topics that I've done are huge contributors to that. So the past 2 ones I did was sugar. And sugar, what does that have to do with fat building up in your arteries? A lot. If you have not seen that one, it is on the Facebook page. It's last week's Facebook Live, and it's also on the YouTube page. If you go to YouTube and you search Basically It, or you search Basically It Whine About It, you'll find it on my page, and you can watch that video there. And then the types of fat that we're eating can also contribute to our cholesterol and all of that fat storage thing. Our age and our race actually play a role in blood pressure. The older we are, the longer our heart has been working and pumping, and that's just kind of a natural thing. And then African Americans are also much more at risk for high blood pressure as well. And that's something to keep in mind. Just want to make sure this is stable. That's something to keep in mind. If you're already kind of if you already are going to have a risk factor, so you're over the age of 50 or you're African American, being aware of that, being aware of your diet, your weight, how much exercise you get, making sure that you're hydrated, less so with wine. Sorry, I really am thirsty from the gym. And then stress, and this is a huge one. This is the underdog, the one that we forget about or don't think is that important. Stress is so important. We kind of forget that our thoughts have a lot to do with our internal chemistry. And they do. If we're thinking, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, just imagine the last time you felt really stressed out. It's immediately, everything kind of comes up here. So you start breathing shallower, your heart starts pumping harder, and that is the fight or flight reaction. Your body is getting ready to go. And a lot of us are experiencing that all the time. And we really need to be aware of that. So finding ways to manage your stress. Stress is a huge part of that blood pressure and just the heart disease equation, I like to call it. I don't know, I just made that up. And then kidney disease can also be an issue, but if you don't have kidney disease, it's not an issue. So yes, the Americans do get too much salt, but salt, as I just explained, is not the only risk factor for high blood pressure. So the recommendation for salt is 1,500 milligrams to 2,300 milligrams a day. The average American gets about 3,400 milligrams of salt a day. And to put that into perspective, 1,500 to 2,300, that's about a teaspoon of salt a day. And 3,400 is like a teaspoon and a half, or about a teaspoon and a half. So we are above the recommendation of salt. We do get more salt than we should, but when you kind of look at all of this, we are also guilty of, hi Damon, we are also guilty of everything else I listed off on that list as a risk factor for high blood pressure. We are mostly overweight. We mostly don't exercise. We're mostly dehydrated. Mostly we don't get enough water. We are mostly having really bad blood work in terms of fat building up in... Thank you, Lehman. We mostly have fat building up in our blood and on our arterial walls. And we're mostly stressed out. So, of all of those things... Yes, salt, we are getting too much salt, but it is not the only one that we're guilty of doing as far as what contributes to high blood pressure. So, what I kind of think, my opinion about this whole thing, high blood pressure is very modifiable. And of the things that we can modify to change our blood pressure, salt is probably one of the easiest because it's the least lifestyle ish. What am I trying to say? It's the easiest one to modify in terms of our lifestyle. So it's easier than losing weight. It's easier than exercising. It's easier than trying to figure out how to manage your daily stress. Sometimes it's even easier than getting people to drink water, or changing your blood work. So if I am a practitioner and I have a patient who has high blood pressure, they come in with high blood pressure, and they have everything else on that list, salt's probably the one that I'm going to be able to get them to say yes to, which is good. We need to start somewhere, but I don't think that salt is that big of a deal. I think the big deal is our weight, our exercise, our stress, and our hydration, and our diet, our overall diet. So if you're cooking mostly at home and you're drinking plenty of water, you're getting exercise, you are managing your weight, salting the crud out of your, I almost said a bad word, really over-salting your food probably really won't have that much of an effect on you. Plant foods, so potassium-containing foods, which are plant foods, fruits and vegetables, and salt-containing foods, which a lot of those plant foods also contain salt or sodium. Those potassium and sodium work like symbiotically with each other. So when we take in a potassium in the form of a fruit or a vegetable, that balances out the sodium that we're taking in, which is really interesting. So if we modify our diet to just simply balance out the sodium that we're taking in with plant foods, a lot of times that can correct a lot of the issues that we see with salt. The problem is we don't eat a ton of plants. We eat a ton of processed packaged foods, which have a ton of salt in them. And then we don't balance that out with anything whole, anything with fiber in it, anything with potassium in it. And we end up with all the issues that we have today, which have so much more to do with the foods and our lifestyles as a whole than just the salt. So what I suggest is start an exercise routine, and it doesn't have to be crazy. It can literally be walking for 5 minutes. It can be standing at your desk instead of sitting. It can be just the smallest little thing, but any little thing is really going to help, really going to benefit you. Losing weight, even just 10% of your body weight, can have a huge impact on your arterial health, your heart health. It can help lessen all of the stress on your heart and really open up that whole system, which is amazing for your blood pressure, amazing for your heart health. Drinking more water. It is so simple. With this, just you need a nice water bottle that you can carry with you. I have a glass one because then I can just stick it in the dishwasher. I don't have to worry about like hand washing it or anything. This normally has a lid, so I can put it in my purse if I need to. But having something that you can carry with you at all times, and this is about reminding yourself to drink, because it's really easy to forget if you're, super busy or running around all the time. So having something with you that is going to remind you to drink water is super important. Outside of that, reducing the processed packaged foods is huge. If you're cooking at home, I think you can salt your food, but when you're eating out, a lot of times you're not getting all of the plants, all of those symbiotic nutrients, all of the potassium, and so you're kind of missing that piece. You're getting a lot of the processed foods as well as a ton of salt, and that's what's not good. So it's the eating out a lot, it's the processed packaged foods from the grocery store. Anything that comes in a bag with a label is gonna have salt in it because salt tastes good and it's a preservative. So cooking at home just a little bit can really help. Just making sure you're getting in your fruits and vegetables once or twice a day can really help. And you just start small. Start where you are. You don't have to take huge leaps. It's like if you're here, you just move like here, you know, not a lot, just a little bit at a time, anything that you can handle and that you feel comfortable with. And that's where you start. So really avoiding the processed packaged foods, try cooking at home even just one day a week, and then adding in a fruit and a vegetable a day plus water. That's a great place to start in terms of your blood pressure, in terms of your heart health. And someone just pulled up in front of me with their headlights on, so now I've got this really bright lights on my face, and they're probably wondering what the heck I'm doing in my car with a light on my face. Okay, so those are my suggestions to walk away with and to start like immediately, because that's all of those are going to be hugely beneficial for your heart. And it's not just about reducing salt, it's about taking care of all the other factors that really go into blood pressure. So what I want to suggest to you is go to my website, basicallyatmeals.com, scroll all the way to the bottom and enter your email address, because I send out recipes that cover my Facebook Live topics every week, and you want those recipes. They're really good recipes. They're yummy, they're easy, they're healthy. I don't ever give you anything that I feel is going to be out of your range in terms of skill level and difficulty. And honestly, like, I love to cook, but I don't like to make anything complicated. I like really simple things that come together in minutes, and those are the type of recipes that I send out that you get. So my website, basicallyatmeals.com, scroll to the bottom, enter your email address, and you will get my recipe covering this topic next week. And then, follow me on Instagram. That's basically_it_. That is the Instagram page, and I do tons of content there on the stories. So I'm on the stories like all day long, giving health tips, nutrition tips, easy cooking recipes, all of the things. I do have a ton of content on the Instagram stories. So go follow the page, like or follow whatever it's called on Instagram, and that's basically_it_. And lastly, the spring menu was just loaded to the site, and I have a really exciting announcement. We're going to start doing snacks. Yay! So I've been recipe testing snacks, and we're going to offer 2 snacks this spring, 2 different snacks. They're little like protein bites that you're going to get, and they're so good, you guys. Oh my gosh, they're so yummy. I have been recipe testing / eating like a ton of protein balls, and they're so good. So you don't want to miss that. If you want to order for our first week of spring, which is going to be March 4th, so those get delivered on Monday. You can start ordering now. That ordering is open for that week. Check out the snack balls. You can order, honestly, you can pick all the snack balls if you want. You don't even have to get any of the real food. You can just order snacks, which I might do that because they're really, really good. So that's my last announcement. I will definitely see you next Thursday on the Facebook page at 5:30. I will see you in your inbox next week with a recipe. I'm also going to be back on Show Me St. Louis next Tuesday. That's the 10 a.m. show. I'll be doing the live cooking segment there. So really, really excited about that. And just excited to have been here with you all tonight. And I'll definitely see you next week. All right, bye.